So that made me happy. And it also sounds about right.
You tell the world also what you just heard, or what you just told me about the Venom trailer.
Oh, I just saw somebody comment it on Twitter, and it was like my favorite tweet after it dropped was that Venom looks like the greatest Marvel associated comic book movie from 1995. Like, it just looks... And it does. It feels like that old brand of comic adaptation where it just looks bad and cheesy and they don't quite understand what they're doing.
It's like they're real excited about being one of the first to the gate, except they're 20 years
back. Like,
after anybody's been anywhere.
Like this, I would have, like, that movie looks like it would have been released between like Hellboy and Blade 2 and the Thomas Jane Punisher. Like, it just fits in that old bad mold.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. And I hate it so, like, I know I've told you how excited I am about Venom because I like Venom as a character, but it just, I keep tricking myself that it's not a Sony held property and like they're gonna do something good with it, and like every little bit I see of it just tears me apart. Like, I'm like, it's gonna suck. Like, the design of Venom alone just has me reeling because it's so like are off. Because when you learn to draw the head that the eyes are right in the middle, and on Venom they're clear on the top, and it just annoys me to all heaven. I was like, I'm gonna hate this just because the creature design I cannot get along with. So.
Well, I imagine you're probably not going to see it much. Like, I'm wondering if that's not like remember, you don't watch trailers. Did you ever see the trailer for The Amazing Spider-Man 2? The Andrew Garfield one? Where, like, in the trailer, it shows him fighting Rhino, which is the last shot of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm kind of thinking this is the same thing. Like, it's just going to be black goo coming off Tom Hardy for 90 minutes, and then he's going to turn into Venom at the end.
Yeah. Fucking A, though.
Yeah.
Tonight, full... Can you hear me yet?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay. We're doing full-on spoilers for the Avengers movie. If you haven't seen it, duck out unless you don't care about spoilers, because we're going to get into it heavy. Because I'm guessing Luke really hated it and doesn't want to wait until Monday for me to yell at him.
I wouldn't say hate.
I knew it was going to be this. I called him. I was like, "You're gonna think it was good." In a time trying to woo you.
It's fine. You can we can do Tonight Show. However you want to. If you want to slob on it for a while and then I'll make some points, or if you want to go.
It was really funny when I got your message earlier, because it had a really feeling like it feels like you're where I was for Last Jedi the first time I saw it. Like, you just weren't sure about all of it, I guess.
That's a good shot. Like, I know, like I said, you've sat with it a little longer. I'm assuming you went to like a 7 or 8 o'clock showing last night, whereas I just saw it this afternoon at like 1. So you got a couple more hours on me to sit with it. But, it's I don't know. It's ambitious. It's flawed. It's a mess at times. There's stuff I really like. It's kind of all over the place. So.
Okay, to give you a bit, so Luke is very conscious about the themes and the overarch, like, the feeling of the movie. Like, he gave Blockers a great reason to see Blockers last week, which blew my mind because I really hated it. I'm the MCU fanboy that, like, if they decided to kill off Stan Lee's character, I'd be like, all right, let's see where this goes. I'm with you, I guess. Let's see.
No, we can't quite set that verge. Like, I am a giant comic book fan, and I've always been a Marvel fan first and foremost. Like, I grew up, Spider-Man, it was my fucking jam, and like that got me into the MCU or the Marvel comics, and like I'm pretty sure you were there too. Like, we were there opening night for Iron Man, and I was like, fucking, I've read Iron Man. Fucking, who's making a movie about Iron Man? And got sucked into this world. And there's really good high spots within the MCU, and there's weaker stuff, and there's some outright bad stuff. But I'm not like a fucking hater on the MCU by any means.
Yeah. To hold Marvel to the level that I feel like they're aspiring to.
Maybe. I don't
know. At some point, they're gonna tell these great stories, and they're gonna have great directors telling these stories that people will take superhero movies seriously to the point where it's not just people that are enjoying the Marvel movies seeing them.
But we've had that from comic book movies before. I mean, that's the entire reason Dark Knight was a big hit as it was, because it was comic book, but it was not conscious of being a comic book. It was just a good film to start with. Yeah. And I think there's real high points within the MCU. Like, I absolutely love Winter Soldier. I think it's fucking phenomenal movie. I really like Civil War. I'm a huge fan of Iron Man 3, which I know everyone kind of hates, but fuck, I love that movie.
Well, I fucking love Iron Man 3 too, so I should say you're not gonna find me saying that I hate any of the MCU movies. Like, I can pick any part. Like, I even love Age of Ultron, but like that's more of an aesthetic for me, just because like the things that movie was trying to be more ambitious than the MCU at that point, like trying to get themselves to the next point, and like just like that movie was literally throwing Hail Marys the whole way.
Yeah, no, like, I mean, there's definitely a spectrum when you talk MCU, and there is stuff that's at the bottom. I wouldn't say, like, okay, I would. Like, I think Hulk is a bad movie. Like, I never need to see that movie again. I think Iron Man 2, like, it glides by on the charisma of Downey, but, like, it's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. Ultron is a giant mess. Like, like there's stuff down there. They're not, but for the most part, everything's watchable. It might not be anything I want to like obsess over and go back to, but like even something like Ant-Man or Doctor Strange, I'm like, it was fine. Like it had some cool visuals. There's a way to kill, 2 hours, and I'm out, and I'll probably never think of it again until I have to discuss the MCU.
2.5 hour movies that are, all right. And like, I know I pitched it to you earlier this year that we should watch one leading up to Infinity War, and you're like, I did that last year, and I don't give a shit to do it again. I was like, all right, that's fair. But I've been watching a podcast this week, like reviewing, and like that's how I've been going back and seeing a lot of those early ones. Like, I think by and large, I've only seen all the MCU movies once, maybe twice. I know the Phase 1, I've probably only seen all of them collectively once. Avengers probably a handful of times, Ultron a handful of times, but like I think by the most part, Guardians probably a handful of times too. Guardians 2 a handful of times, but like for the most part, the ensemble movies are the ones for me. I just don't care enough for the standalone ones because I've been excited for them to get to this point for the last 5 years for sure. So.
Fair. See, and I think this is where we're definitely going to diverge when talking about Infinity War, because there's things I like about the ensembles. I would definitely rank like Avengers is like top 3, like that first Avengers movie. When I rank MCU, like it's cool seeing these people come together and interact and stuff. But by and by, I think like story wise and what you get from the solo films is more interesting to me.
Compare the last 3 for sure. I think Ragnarok, Homecoming, and Black Panther have hit it out of the park, telling a great story and being that standalone that you can just go back and rewatch. Prior to that, like Guardians for sure, because I think James Gunn just knows where he wants to go with that world, and he's really not on anybody's leash for the most part. But I think the other tentpoles like Captain America and everything, like they aren't gonna try those with any like newcomers. Like the Russo brothers are pretty competent and know where they want to take that character, and like the ones that are right behind him too. So, which is funny is because I'm so excited about this conversation that we're having right now, because I'm not sure that I liked Infinity War yet.
Oh, really?
Like, for the most part, I'm 75% there. Like, I really enjoy the story that it told, but for the most part, it feels like the first half of a movie.
100% it does.
That's where I have a hard time, like, saying, like, this is fantastic. Like, you hit the stopping point, and it's just like, son of a bitch, like, I need the next movie that's a year away. So, that's the frustrating part to me.
Sure. My problems with it would be it's just too much. In the sense that, like, there's no way to... There's certain anchor points that get more kind of contextualized and more time and stuff, because that's the thoroughfare that the story's going through. But outside of that, they're just relying on shorthand knowledge of, these characters, and we really don't have time to do any service to them. Like, I think, like, honestly, like, Captain America has probably 6 lines in this movie. Like, like so many people are just shortchanged. Other stuff, like, obviously the Guardians get more because Gamora is such a huge part of, like, the Thanos storyline, so they get more screen time. So they're a little more fleshed out. Which is so funny
is because it feels like those characters were properly utilized. Once you look at the grand scope of everybody that was in this movie, like, it felt like the airport scene from Civil War for at least 2 hours. Like, everything was happening and you were just kind of hanging on.
Yeah, but the problem was, like, that airport scene is surrounded by 2 hours of character development of Cap and Bucky and Tony, and you just don't get that for 90%. Like, yeah, there is a great thrill to, like, seeing these characters interact and the different pairings they go off on, but it's a propulsive movie. It's never stopping, but you don't get those breathable moments. You don't get any character arc or beats.
For the most part, I think they did an incredible job with Hulk this movie.
See, like, I get the arc they're going through, but I don't think... Again, it's shorthand because you have to know, like, what just happened in Ragnarok. The idea that Banner was so scared to turn into the Hulk that he would not be able to go back again, and then now we're seeing that the Hulk's the one who's scared. Like, they're doing this multi-film arc with that character, but guess what, if, like, you were like, admittedly most people are going to be MCU follow-throughs and they've seen them all, but what if somebody's like, I watched the first 2 Thor movies and they suck, so I'm not watching that third one, and they don't get any of, like, the setup that they've done there.
Yeah.
But no, like, it, and again...
It's really only been in Ultron and then Ragnarok, right? Like, those are the last 2 times we saw him, right?
Oh, yeah, because the end of Avengers, he went to space, then you met him in Ragnarok. Yeah. But no, it's that the sense of you're supposed to just kind of get this broad stroke. And that's why I'm saying, like, I like stuff that we can watch these characters in their standalone films and get much more in depth with it. Like, this is the spectacle, and I kind of like the smaller, I guess.
No, right.
You know, like Black Panther is like the biggest movie that Marvel never thought they were going to get. You know, like that did better than Avengers, even though Avengers is what they were building to, not Black Panther. And that dude has like 2 lines in this movie. He's all like, "Well, welcome to Wakanda. We're fighting," and that's all you're going to get from me. And, you know, it's like, and again, like, I don't know where within this story that they were telling that you would have been able to give him more room to breathe. But
at the same time, I think that what they showed them doing had such a more impact than what they were saying, is because when you see Captain America for the first time and he's just a silhouette behind the train, like, you're like, oh shit, like, this is somebody you should be afraid of. And then he steps out of the light and then he starts beating some ass, and it's like, the things I think they're trying to get to a point where they can show about these characters more than just giving them dialogue to fill in the space.
And I'm not saying it's just dialogue, but like the short change, like last time we saw Cap he was now a wanted criminal. He turned against the government that he thought, like, in like his 40s head, right? The government's right. I need to serve my country and do everything. And then over 2 films, he lost faith in the country and the direction they were going in, and believing in your own moral code as opposed to what you being the bearer. Instead of working for what you think they should be, you need to be better than them and bring them up with you. So you need to fight your government and stand up for what you believe in. And at the end of that, he's ostracized, a criminal. He's on the run. And here it's just like, I'm back. I got a beard. I got to fight a big alien war. Like, there's a disconnect between where he was then and where he is now. We're missing what Cap in Exile was and what it did to him to have to turn his back on everything that he thought that they should stand for.
I think you see a real disconnect just because in the main cast, besides Thor, like, you haven't seen him since Ultron, and like, it feels like this picks up relatively close to after Civil War.
I'm not sure how quick, but I mean, it's because, I mean, it can't have been too soon because Vision and Scarlet Witch have apparently had all these stolen meetings and they're developing their romance. It takes time. I'm not saying that, like, it's a detriment to this film. I'm just saying there's interesting avenues that, because we're doing so many characters and so much focus on the bombast, that we're not able to get any of these breathable moments.
Yeah. And the bombasts are,
you know, like, I mean, like, look at it. The Hulk has been gone for years, right? He was in Sakaar for like 2 years as Hulk. He pretty much, like, left Earth with this unrequited thing with Black Widow, and they meet up and he's just like, hey, and now we're not going to talk the rest of the movie. Like, there's these threads there that are interesting in these human connection moments that make superheroes interesting as opposed to just the spectacle, to me, that you're just kind of missing in this.
No, like, I totally get that too.
The flip side of the coin is, like, I think the stuff with Thor was amazing in this movie. Like, when him and Rocket are on the ship and he's, like, trying not to let it show, but, like, it's just devastating that, like, Asgard's gone, his family's gone, his friends are gone, and all he has is this rage to, like, in search for vengeance to keep him going. Like,
but even more so than that, I thought Rocket, like, pretending to be the captain and then realizing he had to fill that role to talk to it, like, there is such good character development for the little bits that they get.
Admittedly, and I agree, and I'm saying that's good character development, and that's great stuff. and that's so much more interesting than so many of the characters who were kind of short shifted.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but there's so much to kill. Encompasses this whole movie that right out of the gate comes right after Ragnarok, and like just comes out swinging literally.
Yeah, we get the decimation of half of what's left of Asgard. There's stuff in there that you kind of like, you grit your teeth and you're like, oh no, I missed some of this, but like, you're kind of like, I just got, the hive coming off Ragnarok. You're immediately like, where's Korg and Meek and the Valkyrie? Like, I want to know those characters are okay, and don't show me they're dead. And but like, where are they? I need don't kill these things I like.
Loki murder, like right out of the gate.
Yeah, no, and it's set up that there's probably actually going to be stakes in this movie, which you kind of want going in. You can't have this be fluff all the time. They can only save the world so many times by the skin of their teeth without consequence, and you got to get to that point.
Say, with Loki dying right from the get-go, like, it felt like anyone could die at any moment, and like, of course I think they'll be coming back, but like the time from now to where they actually get him back is like, how is that going to play after everybody comes back too? That like, we've seen if we're Iron Man dealing with all this stuff since New York in the first Avengers.
Yeah, no, it's I'm glad that there's going to be consequences to some degree. Honestly, like, that's something I was struggling with, is that ending left a very sour taste in my mouth. If we want to skip ahead to that part, I suppose.
No, I mean, it totally left a sour point, but compared to all of the other MCU movies, like, where the good guys win, like, I'm glad they did that. Like,
yeah, but
it's something we haven't felt.
That's not my problem. My problem is, okay, I guess, and like, here's some, like, admittedly, if you're still here, we're spoiling shit, so get the fuck out. The movie ends near the end. Thanos gets all the stones and he kills half the universe. So the ending of the movie is you're just watching all these people die, right? So you're seeing all these characters just turn to dust, be gone. The problem that left the sour taste with me is the same reason that I hate death in comic books, is that it's never fucking real. Because who do we see die, right? We see all the Guardians die except Rocket. We see Spider-Man die. We see Black Panther die. Guess who all has announced sequels coming? Spider-Man, Guardians, Black Panther. So immediately, none of this is going to matter because there's no half measures, right? If these people are coming back, that means everyone's coming back. You can't have like Tony Stark and Cap sitting at a table being like, let's bring back Spider-Man and let's bring back the Guardians. Yeah, do we really need to bring back Scarlet Witch? No, let's leave her dead. Like, it's either on or off. Either these people are dead or they're back. So everyone you saw die at that end of the movie is coming back in the next one. It immediately negates the weight of death that you should feel. Now, the problem, the thing that left the taste in my mouth, like I said, it left a bad taste. Then that was my aha moment that I was texting you about, was that I got what they were doing. Okay, it doesn't sit well with me, but it's very simple to see. Not simple, like I said, it took me 3 hours of ruminating to figure it out. All these people die. Who's left? Right? It's the original Avengers. Infinity War is about the spectacle of the MCU. Here's the culmination of the MCU. Here's everyone, every disparate thread. We're all coming together. What's the next one going to be about? We're back to just the core six, the main first Avengers doing what they were supposed to do. The group of extraordinary people coming together to handle the threats no one else can. So
literally, you just talking about it, like, I've got like my hair standing on edge just thinking about it. Like, But yeah, I mean, it feels good because it's a real Rocky moment, and like talking about the boxer Rocky, where the first movie he loses, but like he comes back so much stronger the second one. Like it, I'm so excited to see how they pull this all together. Is because yeah, I got that almost instantaneously that the core six were there, but from Nebula's introduction in the first Guardians, I thought she was going to be the one to kill Thanos. And knowing that she's still alive with Tony, I can only assume like this is what Fate Strange saw that was going to happen, that these two are going to become the one that bring in, because fucking Tony standoff against Thanos was incredible. Like, to see somebody that's probably the least trained, like, have such like almost devastating attacks, like would have easily taken down somebody else, but like going against fucking Thanos, he almost had almost no shot.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like, I think
whole respect.
I mean, if they're applying anything more than names from, comic sources, like in the original Infinity War, it was not Nebula who killed Thanos, but like she tricked him into, it's really dumb and it's comic booky, but like basically like Thanos had the gauntlet and he snapped like half the universe out and got everything. And then Nebula was kind of like, why are you fucking around on this plane of existence? You're a god now. And he's like, you're right. He became a star. And they're like, oops, the gauntlet fell off. And then Nebula got the gauntlet. So it's really silly. But I think you're right that like Nebula is going to play a part. I think the main thing though, between Strange being so protective of the stone and him knowing there's only one outcome to this, and then he gives it up to save Tony's life. I think it's very much in line that Tony is the key. Like, if Tony were dead, then there is no winning. That somehow he is.
Well, I mean, you have that nanotechnology, but also you have Thanos tech too. That, like, I can only assume, because fucking Iron Man's suit this time around was incredible with all the things it was doing compared to where we were the first time around.
Yeah, but the problem was, though, like, his tech didn't do anything. Like, even Thanos said it. He's like, all that for just the drop of blood, and then just pounded the shit out of him. Like, how far can tech push against a god, essentially? Like, if Thanos has the god, which is weird because I don't know quite what's gonna happen, because, like, once he used the gauntlet, the next time you saw it, it was like burnt and fried and looked like it had blown up, but he still used the gems to traverse space. So I'm real interested of like, was there like a power feedback? Did something break? It's really interesting if he has full power. Again, it's going to be interesting.
I think Gamora, having her soul traded for the Soul Stone, I think that's going to play something with it.
Oh, it's how they're bringing Gamora back. If you think anyone who died pre-snap is dead. So Loki, Heimdall, those guys can't come back. But once you're able to reverse what Thanos did with the gauntlet, that's going to bring back everyone who died through the dusting. But Gamora died before, but if her soul is trapped in the stone, they're probably going to get it out, and that's how she comes back. Yeah. Would be my follow-through assumption on that. It's just interesting to think, like, what we just saw was the entire MCU up against him, and they couldn't beat him before he got all the stones. Now that we've culled it down to the smaller group, and he has all the stones, how are we going to reach the point? How do we get that point of beating him? And I think that's definitely what I thought going into the film was like, I'm sure there would be some casualties, and I assumed it would be the older guys, the guys who contracts were up, the Downies, the Evans. like if I had lost Cap or Tony during this movie, that would have hit so much harder than everyone who died at the end. But I think that's where we're going to come into the second one. It's going to be a lot smaller, and it's going to be this. We're going to go back to small, and it's going to be real. I think it's going to be a real tight story. I think when you put these two together, like this is the bombast, and we're going to get the kind of character stuff in the next one, and it's ultimately going to be about like those original guys kind of doing their bow out to save the new guard, and those are the ones who come in and replace them within the MCU.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But I mean, they were spread against his Black Guard, I believe it was.
Black Order.
It was Black Order. Those are the 4 guys that are his generals, I guess.
Yeah, they're from Hickman's run. And when he was doing Avengers and New Avengers, he did kind of like a crossover between the two called Infinity, and that was where they came in. No, see, like, honestly, like, there's no logistical way, like, it works or anything, but, like, because you couldn't hold off Thanos any longer. It had to be Thanos now. Like, we've built to it for 10 years, right? But I think it probably... I don't know if it would have worked better, but like maybe this first film is not Thanos doing all this. It's, like it's the Black Order and them going against them and struggling to get through that point, and then they still have Thanos behind who they can't handle. I think like there's so much in this movie. It like I said, it feels stuffed. Like I think we could have spread it out.
Oh yeah.
Like because I don't know in my head how, like, from like a marketing and research and function actual way it would have worked, but like fuck, it would have been so much cooler if we had done like Avengers. Like that was our 3 movies this year. We spread the story over 3 films. Yeah. It was just a year-long event. But the one thing I'm not saying this is a compliment per se, I suppose, but what this film really feels like is a comic book event. Like
yeah,
it feels like if you think of like like let's say Avengers Infinity War is the crossover event. It feels like here's that main story beat in the first issue, and now we're going and now Thor's showing up in issue 331 of Guardians is when Thor shows up here. We're doing a little issue of Guardians, and then we're back to the main story. Then we're going off on, it feels like, because everything feels so right. The Wakanda stuff feels like Black Panther. Like it feels like out of that. The Guardian stuff feels like out of Guardians. It doesn't feel like. It feels like the Russos were very subservient to the visions of the other people doing these films, but that makes it feel that way. It feels like here's the main thoroughfare, and you get that story, but we're going off on this little side story with the Guardians here. And once Gamora leaves, then she's in the main plot of Infinity War, which is like really the Thanos storyline and all this other stuff. And now in issue 12 of Thor's building a new hammer with Rocket. Like it just these side stuff that it really feels like a comic book crossover and it gets all the benefits and the detriments from that, Yeah,
for sure. Like you really hated about this movie, though.
Again, like the ending, I was really kind of like, come on, guys. Like, again, I parsed it out. I see what we're doing, and we're going back to the original Avengers. We're going to do this, and I will put money on it right now. I will tell you this. I will bet you $5 or whatever you starving artist has laying around that we know from history of the MCU that they like to take the titles of iconic storylines or these things, like Age of Ultron really had nothing to do with the story Age of Ultron, which sucked, but it's a cool title, right? And it's from the comics. And Civil War and Winter Soldier, they like to take those subtitles. So we know that. And we know that they would not reveal the name of Avengers 4 because it was a spoiler for Infinity War. I put money. I would bet you money it's called Heroes Reborn. 100. Yeah, I'd put money on it.
I hope it's Avengers Forever. Come on.
No, it's not a fucking Fast and the Furious movie. They're not gonna call it that.
The 4 in there? Come on. I'll bet you your $5. I think it's gonna be Forever.
We'll find out sometime in the winter, probably.
You heard it here, Internet. We got a $5 bet on Avengers 4 title. I think the thing that stuck with, or the biggest problem I had was the CG of the Hulkbuster. When his head was open, was atrocious.
Yeah, it was. But again, like, there's only so much money they have to throw at this, and
fuck that. They did such a good job with everything else. Fuck it. Take another couple weeks. Get that fucking fine detail worked out.
It was like one shot. It
was like 3 shots, and it looked like fucking. Here's the Hulkbuster, and little Hulk's just sticking out. Like, oh my god, this is awesome, guys. Like, no, it looked real bad. It looked as bad as the Black Panther fight.
No, it was bad, but it wasn't at forefront and center, so I let it slide, I suppose. I will say there's a part of me that was wishing, like, once he had like the mechanical arm ripped off, don't tell me there's not a point you didn't want a giant green arm to pop out and realize the Hulk is in the Hulkbuster armor, like beating the shit out of him.
It would have been real fucking badass.
But again, I get what they're doing there.
Oh yeah.
No, again, like my main problems with it are that, just like I like the pairings and stuff. I just feel like some people just are they're just there. Unfortunately, like, you know, like almost 90% of that ground team in Wakanda, you really get nothing from. You know, it's like hardly anything. That's sad. Like, because I like these characters so much, I don't want to see one over the other. Like, I get it. Like, I get what happened. I get the narrative thorough line of it, but like, fucking cool it, Star-Lord. What, like, cool it, man. You killed half the universe, Star-Lord. That's what you've done. It's all his fault.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's about love, so. Also, I didn't like them doing that storyline for Star-Lord and Gamora. Like, that felt real, but the Scarlet Witch and Vision didn't. Like, because they were doing it for the same effect.
Yeah, and you know, that's one of those things that it feels weird. Obviously, we've missed a ton of time between Guardians 2 and now, where, you know, Groot went from a baby to a preteen or teenager, whatever he is. But you miss that of, like, Peter and Gamora went from flirting to straight up, they're, like, together now. You know, like, you miss that.
Cole, I don't think you remember that.
I remember. But it's one of those things where, like, it's a contrivance of plot. Like, if Quill was really pissed about it, he would have shot Thanos in the face, not hit him with the butt of his gun. Like, you know, like, and either of those choices, like letting them take the gauntlet off and then taking care of him, or shoot him in the face and being done with it, would have worked better than I'm going to hit you and wake you up because that's what the story needs.
Yeah, it's fair. Also, I was so disappointed that when Thor came back, fucking Immigrant Song didn't come with him.
It's true. Like, but because of the tone and where we are in that third act, it wouldn't have worked. But yeah, when the Bifrost opens and Stormbreaker comes
that would have worked? Listen, you fucking stop right there. Thor comes back, Stormbringer, fucking Immigrant Song, boom, hard cut. That's the end of the movie. Fucking Avengers, the next one picks up for the Soul Stone because they're not sure what stone they're fighting for in Wakanda, which I thought that was a great red herring. I thought that everything they set up in Wakanda, making it seem like the Soul Stone was there, was great. Like, the red herrings they've dropped along the way, like, I mean, if you haven't seen all 18 movies, you probably missed a good amount of them. But I think you could still enjoy this movie just by itself, like just for that event sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, when it comes down to it, like, Thor is probably comes out the best in that movie. Like, he has a narrative arc throughout it, and it, he goes from loses everyone, needs to get this to complete his quest, and then fails at completing the quest, and there's like pathos to what he's doing, and he's just still super funny, and then he's such a good fit with the Guardians, and I still can't believe how good Batista is, because Drax is probably my favorite thing ever.
I love that. I fucking love that. I love Spider-Man movies. I think probably Spider-Man was my favorite of this movie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's surprising coming from you.
I think he's the perfect like he jumps in right at the perfect moment for that little moment of humor that like when Strange and Iron Man are just being douchebags to each other, like he just hops in like, hey, I'm fucking Spider-Man and no. The whole fucking alien like when they were discussing Footloose and the aliens like to destroy the one dude, like he was just the right amount.
No, it's good. It is. I think Rocket gets off pretty good in the film. Like a lot outside of like Star-Lord, the Guardians come out pretty well in this movie. Like I like the stuff and the shifting of the characters and actually progressing and moving more than I did in Volume 2 of Guardians, which I felt was kind of just a shallow retread of the first one. So it gets me excited again for these, especially because if I remember hearing it right, Gunn wrote all like the Guardians dialogue and stuff.
So. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, Gunn, I'll give you one more shot. I love that first one. Real sour on the second, but you're turning me back around here.
I know we already talked about Hulk, but I think him starting out and getting the shit kicked out of him for the first time, that set the pace for him to be scared the rest of the movie to be Hulk. It feels to me anyway.
It was, and it's real quick shorthand to take your big tough guy and use him as a punching bag to show you how big of a threat Thanos is, even without all the stones.
Oh yeah, and then Heimdall fucking using the last bit of energy he had to get rid of. And are they using dark energy from Dormammu?
No, it's the I don't believe it's from Dormammu, but it's the same. It's from the first Thor.
Okay.
When he closes off the Bifrost, and then Loki asks like, how much dark magic did the Allfather use to get you here? Or maybe it's from Avengers. There is that line in one of them.
Yeah. Nice.
I think it's the Avengers, because the Bifrost is destroyed at the end of the first Thor.
Yeah.
But then when Thor shows up to grab Loki in the Avengers, and Loki asks him, how much dark energy did they use to get you here? Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of that. It's just the black magic side of Norse mythology.
Gotcha. Those are the brutal ones. I think Gamora's death was done really well.
Oh my god, we even missed it. Like Red Skull out of nowhere.
Yeah. I figured he had a chance of popping up because like too many people were mentioning that he hasn't been around forever, and I was like, that'd be a good nod just to see him like jump on Thanos' back and be like, let's fucking go take over some shit. But like, I like how they really utilized him.
Yeah, it was cool because like I was when they bring it in, I was like, I don't think they're gonna do death, but are we starting to like bring in like the Eternals? Are we talking like the elemental forces of the Marvel universe?
The fact that they didn't use death, like that's another Soul Stone like red herring that they dropped, and like I've been looking forward to this being a love story between Thanos and Death, and where Thanos just wanted to course correct the entire universe. Like I was like, oh, they're not gonna do Death, are they? So like
no. And I'm kind of glad they didn't. Like, as a comic nerd, and I've read all those Jim Starlin books. It's cool to see death and that idea, but that's too. I think it's too like metaphysical, even for what.
Yeah.
Because let's not be wrong. This is the most comic book movie that's ever comic book movie. Like, it's ridiculous the weird shit they're doing in it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like, I get the idea that like, it's the old adage. Every villain thinks they're the hero of their own story. You have to give Thanos an actual reason and try and. I don't think anyone's ever going to side with him, but you can see where he's coming from, as opposed to just, I want to bone this bone lady, so like I need to kill half the universe.
It's something that has happened like the last 3 movies. Like, the villains are really strong because they're connected so much more than those first villains where they would just be throwaway villains. And like, I felt myself empathizing with Thanos because, I mean, you see all this shit going around in the world. Like, we are too overpopulated and there's not enough to go around. And it's like, that makes a lot of sense, but it's also a real fucking dick move.
Yeah, it's also like, you get the control over everything. You get godhood. Like, make more resources. Nope, just kill them all. Kill half of them. Like, you could make like fields that never depletes, and you could feed everyone. You could do that. No, just wipe them out. It's still like, there is a. I don't. There's inherently the idea of what he wants, to make sure these people aren't suffering, that we live off what we have and no one goes without, that are admirable as ideas, but they still cast him as the villain because he does it in a sadistic and villainous way. Because even it was either Guardians 1 or 2 where like Gamora and Nebula talk about how like, they had to fight each other for his amusement, and like that's why Nebula's all parts. Like, he punished her throughout that, and so he has this cruel bent to him. So he's trying to tell himself it's for altruistic reasons, but to get us not to sympathize so much with him, it's still to a conquering idea of it. But holy shit, like that scene from fucking. When Nebula is being tortured, that's like straight out of like the fucking Cell with Jennifer Lopez with the fucking slices. I was like,
oh. No, I think Vision's fucking second death was brutal as fuck.
Yeah, but I wanted it to happen. I'm like, fuck that guy.
Both sides. I was excited to see what would happen if he wasn't able to get all the stones, and then I realized he had the time stone, so it didn't matter. Like, but him just ripping it fucking from his skull right in front of Red Scarlet Witch, fucking brutal as fuck.
No, see, like I said, like I'm kind of all over the place because I haven't coalesced all my thoughts yet. But no, bringing that up is this. So like, it's interesting what they're doing with that dynamic, because basically what this movie is doing between the idea that they need to save Vision, right? They need to save Vision. We don't trade lives. This is the moral high ground that we take, versus the ultra realistic and pragmatic view of Thanos, which is like, if people die to save other people, it's fine. It's the conflicting ideals of maybe the Avengers aren't in the right here. That whole like leave no man behind is kind of a juvenile thought when it comes to the idea of the scope of things that they're doing. Because if they had been willing to destroy that stone at any point, it would have stopped everything, except that they wait until the last moment when there is no other option. And even at that point, it's not like them as a team who does it. It's it's Vision sacrificing himself. So it's kind of the idea like maybe these characters need to grow up a little bit. Like we're past the zip pow comic booky silver age of, but we're not quite to the dark and gritty 80s yet. Like there's this middle ground where you got to be realistic about some of this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think the being able to save him in Wakanda was, man, only helped to make that more brutal. Like, because there was just a glimmer of hope that he could be saved without. But I really don't think they could have destroyed any of the stones. Like, that just doesn't seem like something that's possible.
Well, she did, though.
I mean, yeah.
They destroyed the stone in his head, and then Thanos reversed time so that it didn't happen.
But can you think of any other time that an Infinity Stone has been destroyed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a point when like each member of the Illuminati had one, and then I think they were destroyed in Bendis's Volume 2 run of Avengers, I think. Yeah, because I want to say
Avengers Forever.
No, that was just Avengers when it came back, because it went Avengers and then became Mighty Avengers and New Avengers, and they came back together with Avengers. Yeah. I believe Avengers Forever was a original graphic novel by Warren Ellis.
Yeah, it was.
There we go.
So yeah, speaking of the ones that we didn't see, obviously Ant-Man and Wasp have the next movie that is coming in July, I believe, right? Or is it June?
Oh, I thought it was later than that. I thought that was the end of the year one.
No, it's not. That's why. Because I think Captain Marvel is February.
Yeah, that's like the beginning next year movie. So it goes Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, second half. Avengers, Spider-Man is what the next year looks like. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's kind of like a throwaway line in the movie where they say that, Scott's not available because after the Accords and stuff, he's under house arrest. He took a deal or whatever. And so obviously I would imagine Ant-Man takes place like right before Infinity War. Like I'm assuming like the end of Ant-Man or the teaser is like people starting to fucking turn to dust and like Michael Douglas is going to turn to dust or something in front of him.
Yeah. It is coming out July 6th.
Really? That's weird that they're doing these this quick.
2 months, yeah.
Because that puts them all the way until like I think February without a release.
Mm-hmm. But how great was that after credit scene?
Was it though? I'm curious. I'm really not sure.
Oh yeah, Captain Marvel is not till March 8th. So.
Jesus. So like
Infinity War is about this time.
I don't know. Like sure. It's one of those things where like this is what caused Fury to like page fucking Captain Marvel and get her back. It wasn't aliens. It wasn't aliens pouring in from the sky or the superhero Civil War or fucking menacing robots trying to throw a piece of Earth at Earth to blow it up. It's like people are just
be around for that.
Because here's the thing, like, what if Nick Fury was a very religious man and he was like, it's the rapture, thank God, and like when they're taking us. And he didn't.
I could only hope. I don't know. I'm excited. Marvel takes place in the 80s, doesn't it?
90s.
90s.
She's gonna be a grunge girl.
Oh shit! Yeah. What if she says Kurt Cobain?
Oh, I forgot you love Brie Larson. Never mind. That's why you're excited.
I forgot you hate Brie Larson. You're a jerk.
I don't hate her. I've never been interested in Captain Marvel as a character. I think some of that might be on me because like I'm not a fan of Kelly Sue DeConnick, who's written the character for the way.
I was gonna say that you're sexist, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's it. But no, I was never a fan of her writing. I tried it, and I know that she was writing it forever with like when she went from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel, like that was DeConnick. But I've read stuff, especially throughout the Avengers. She was on like when Busiek was writing it with Perez, like she was a member on there, and she's been all over. She was with the X-Men for a long time when she was in space, and I was just never a huge fan of the character, so
I think she's going to be the big tentpole once Downey's gone, so I'm getting excited about her for now.
Yeah. So
because there's no other besides the main six, like there's no other besides the Guardians that I love, but like there's nobody else that I can see taking over.
Well, it's interesting. I think it was today it came out that Disney was kind of wanting Marvel to do more standalone one-shot movies, which I think is the way to go. Because, like,
oh, absolutely, like because this has to be a 6-hour movie, or just even then you're stuffing everything in that you could possibly push in.
Yeah, so like I think the idea of like it's still a connected universe. They're still together, but it's less of us building to something as opposed to like, sure, now we're going to do a movie where, you know, we're going to check in on that Black Widow movie, or Bucky and fucking Falcon are going to team up to do some kind of military, you know, like shit like that would be, and less more of like, how are we going to start building these threads to something else?
Yeah. So. Which I think once Infinity War is complete, I think they can put that on the shelf and just not have to build to something like that ever again. Because I mean, it saying that, I know it's been incredibly profitable for them, and it's going to be hard saying no to a huge long run like this again. But
yeah, but I
can't see them doing something else besides like Galactus, and then it becomes like a Dragon Ball Z thing where you're just fighting bigger and bigger and bigger, and like, how long can you really do that?
No, it makes more sense to let's stop these world-ending events, and you know, like Ant-Man, it wasn't a flop. You know, that made them money, and it is very outside of like when he fights Falcon, it's very self-contained, and this next one seems the same, considering it probably is going on right before Infinity War. You know, it's easy to tell these smaller stories that, you know, like ain't nobody opening a portal and fucking blowing up Earth and Ant-Man. The dude was just trying to sell some shrinking ray for money, you know, like there's a way to tell these smaller stories and still have them be superhero stories and profitable and do the MCU house style that they're doing, but just scale it back.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then we get back to the 80s.
Yeah.
The dark.
Get dark and gritty.
And then we move straight to the Dark Phoenix for the third time.
No. No, so it's interesting. Like, the only thing I can hope, and I know these, I've seen a comparison, but like, don't pull Matrix. Like, don't be like, you know, take that break between 2 and 3, and then 3, you're like, oh no, this is what we're doing. After 2 is like, because the second Matrix isn't great, but you're like, it's fucking cool to look at most of the time, and some shit's really cool in there.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I changed it. It's gonna be Avengers 4 Revolution. That was the third one, right? Avengers Reloaded.
Yep, that's the one. Yikes. Fucking A. I think that's all I had to talk about it for.
Yeah, I think we hit it. Yay, spoilers.
You want to hit this again when we have a little bit more time on Monday?
Yeah, let it sit for the weekend, and I'm sure you're probably
I'm guessing
gonna catch it again.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think Monday will probably be a short show then.
Yeah, it'll be quick.
What we watch.
Yeah, quick TV catch up and any other thoughts on Avengers. So it should be kind of quick in and out.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll be talking about Black Lightning, Westworld, and then this. So it might still run an hour.
Yeah, we'll see. So, it'll run how long it runs. We just did an hour about Avengers.
Which is surprising. I figured we'd go a half hour and be like spent, so I'm good with that.
And what's crazy is, like, we did just do an hour, and, like, we really didn't scratch a lot of what happens in the film, you know, like, so.
Yeah, I mean, we hit on themes, but we didn't. We went over, like, a couple of the brutal deaths, but really nothing, like, plot devices. But, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll hit on it again on Monday.
Sure.
Until then, stay cool.
Stay cool.
Avengers
Eat
forever.
pineapples. Don't turn to dust. All that good stuff.
Here we go.